Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. We're going to start public comment. I'm going to ask the first, the fifth speaker has pulled out, so the first four speakers, if you could please come up to the podium. Please give your name, and please remember the code of conduct.
Good evening. See, I'm still out there on the mall. Good evening, counselors and staff. My name is Daniel Coleman. I have owned and operated a business 4 blocks due south of the DMV building for 34 years. Lived in the community 70 years. Graduated from St. Monica's Elementary School that was due east of the DMV building. I remember when John Winters ran for this council as an at-large candidate, campaigning on his pontoon boat up and down Tarboro and Rockway Road. What I want to make sure is that we, as we contemplate and plan for the reuse of the DMV site, that this generation of residents of East Raleigh not limit their horizon to just residential development. From the 70s to now, leadership has primarily focused on residential development. Other developments around the city have focused on creating spaces where you live, work, and play. The current South Street Red Hat discussions about the importance of this live, work, and play theme. The DMV site is located at the eastern entrance of the Central Planning District. The Central Planning District is also known as downtown Raleigh. Considering over the $300 million plus the citizens of Raleigh are investing for the redevelopment of this corridor, considering the sidewalk grants, the Federal Transit Administrative grants, the transit tax generated by the portion of the sales tax, and the dedicated $50 million for the DMV site acquisition and the subsequent remediation of the site's hazardous environmental issues, we need to get the biggest bang for the buck. The community event held a few Saturdays ago was not adequately publicized in the immediate community around the DMV site. I heard about the event that Saturday morning on Spectrum News. I polled the surrounding businesses, and they knew nothing about the event. Some council members and the mayor have advised me that there will be a request for a proposal. I hope those RFPs are circulated nationally and perhaps even internationally. Southeast Raleigh needs this horizon focus on more than just housing. We need job centers, as the former DMV site provided for over 50 years, to be seriously considered. I'm not sure on the contribution of residential versus commercial ad valorem taxes, but it seems we have focused on less commercial development, thereby putting the strain on the residential taxes and residential tax base. I think if we poll, we might find that this thought is on many ratepayers' minds. Thank you. I'd like to also say that
Thank you.
Patrick Young has helped me out a great deal.
Thank you, Danny. Ms. Octavia? Then we have speaker 3 and 4.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank council for all of your nice comments last Tuesday. Thank you very, very much. And I really appreciate all of your support. And we're looking forward to good things for 4th Ward. I would also like to talk about the library bond. I would like to thank Dr. Jane Harrison and Stormy Ford for wanting to ask the county commissioners to come. I doubt if they come. I really doubt that. But you can't have $142 million and you give Southeast Raleigh nothing. We need a library in Southgate, which was promised to us 30 years ago. They have never delivered. We need Richardson B. Harris Library expanded at its location going up. The city has the option to use eminent domain and buy the tire place across the street. So that should not be a stumbling block or a hurdle. You do use eminent domain, and you have used it because you used it in East College Park 10 times. When you couldn't get the property, then you use eminent domain. I am very concerned because I keep hearing that Richard B. is moving to the DMV. Marshall, that's what I'm hearing. And I don't like it because it shows no disrespect for the Black history or culture. And that's in my neighborhood. It shows no disrespect at all. Now, I have asked for a public record request from Wake County on Southgate and Richard B. Harrison. And don't let me see nothing in that public record request that I don't like. Excuse my French, hell is going to break loose. And I promise you that. Corey, I put your name in the public record request because I want to hear your conversations about Richard B. Harrison and the DMV. I'm very serious about that. And I asked for David Ellis too. I asked for it and I want it, and I'm calling every Monday. And I don't want my public record request in January. That's not acceptable. But I'm saying to the city, you shouldn't go for that. Richard B. Harrison been moved to the DMV. It's not fair at all. And it's a disrespect to us. I'm hoping they come because I would like to be on the agenda to speak. But I hope they come. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 3 and 4.
Raleigh, the city of Oaks, stands today as a testament to over 2 centuries of citizen resilience and community spirit. We gather today under the shade of the great tree of Raleigh, benefiting from its fruits and shelter. Yet it is essential to acknowledge that none of us here today planted this tree. It was nurtured and tended by countless individuals who came before us, each contributing to its growth with their hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. From the original stewards of this land, the Tuscarora tribe, to the visionary leaders like Joe Lane, who shaped Wake County's foundation in 1771. We also owe our gratitude to individuals like John Chavis, a free Black educator who pioneered education in the early 19th century, and Anna Julia Cooper, born into slavery here in Raleigh, who became a renowned educator and civil rights advocate. These are the roots of Raleigh. Today, Raleigh thrives thanks to citizen-created organizations that embody our community spirit. Organizations such as Shop Local Raleigh, supporting local businesses and fostering community pride. Raleigh Rescue Mission, providing essential services to the unhoused and underserved. And the Interfaith Food Shuttle, fighting hunger and promoting food security in our neighborhoods. These are the roots of Raleigh. But today, Raleigh stands at a critical juncture. Our city's tree leans under the weight of unchecked development and disconnected management. Events cherished by our citizens, such as the Raleigh Christmas Parade, to Boogaloo, and even our 4th of July celebration, are met with disdain by city management. Our city employees are unheard, and our community's needs are overlooked. My fellow Raleighites, I urge you to listen closely. This November 4th, we have the power to elect leaders who will prune away these self-serving interests and nourish our city roots. We need leaders who prioritize affordable housing, safe streets, citizen engagement, and vibrant local businesses. Leaders who respect and celebrate our citizen-driven events and traditions. In short, we need leaders with a servant's heart who are committed to citizen engagement. So let us act now to preserve Raleigh for generations to come. And with the right leadership, we can ensure that today's citizens, our children and grandchildren, continue to call Raleigh home.
Speaker 4.
Hanadi Ali, the war on Gaza, the numbers you don't see. I think I did have a presentation. Does it have one there or no? Okay. 40,988 Palestinians killed, not counting missing or still stuck under rubble. 16,673 Palestinian children killed. 70% of deaths are children and women. 94,825 Palestinian injured with no full capacity hospital. 172 journalists and media workers killed. 212 United Nations staff members killed. 692 killed in the occupied West Bank since 10/7. Aisha Noor, an American activist, had just gotten there a week ago, and she was sniped in the head by an Israeli sniper. They admit to it, but said it was pointed towards a key instigator. So they were going to kill the protester? Why are there snipers at protests? Later, another 12-year-old girl was sniped through the window of her room. Why are they killing so many women? More than 10,400 detained since 10/7. I'm normally always a happy person. Even now, when someone asks me how I'm doing, I say I'm well. I don't want to burden anybody with my problems. I'm burdening now. I'm in a dire state, but I'm acting normal, so I can make a living and feed my 4 kids, and be a partner to my underpaid Raleigh firefighter husband. We need you, Mayor, and you, Stormy, and you, Corey, and you, Jonathan. We need everyone to stand up against this genocide. I'm begging you, Mayor, I'm begging you, Stormy, and you, Corey, and you, Jonathan. I'm not above begging if it means I don't have to see another baby's head blown off. I'm begging you to divest from Israel in the state and form it is currently. Supporting them currently is not with a clear conscience. I remind you, it did not start on 10/7. This has been decades of displacement and killing of the Palestinians, massacres to scare others to displace and become refugees. Meanwhile, refugees have no way of life and have to deal with seeing Israelis who have stolen their land and killed their families and imprisoned their children for what? Throwing rocks? To be clear, the Israel military is the terrorist in my eyes. So imagine for a second the Israeli detained my 12-year-old, imagining what kind of torture or sexual harassment they would be committing to my child that never deserved to be imprisoned. Please vote for a ceasefire now.
Okay, speakers 5 and 6 have withdrawn, so if we could have speakers 7, 8, 9 come up.
All right. Good evening, members of Raleigh City Council. I hope you're enjoying this great, what could be fall or late summer day. Anyways, I stand before you today with a heavy heart and a deep sense of urgency. Our beloved city is facing a series of challenges that demand our immediate attention and collective action. First and foremost, the rising rates of rape, murder, and human trafficking in our community are alarming. So for the audience, if you can't see this, that orange line up there, that is rape. The yellow line is murder, and the green is human trafficking. Those are the rates for the past 11 years in Raleigh. If you'll notice, the green is rising, and it has doubled in the past 2 years. So in 2023, Raleigh's experienced 187 cases of rape, 35 murders, and 28 cases of human trafficking. In 2024, we've had 160 cases of rape, 21 murders, and 55 cases of human trafficking. That is double what it was last year and double what it was since some of you first took office. And this has not gone unnoticed by a lot of the community, by the way. Pay attention to that last number because human trafficking cases have doubled and we are not even done with this year. Doubled, I said. the modern equivalent of slavery has doubled. These heinous crimes have not only shattered lives, but also have eroded the very fabric of our society. We must bolster our law enforcement resources, enhance community outreach programs, and ensure that victims receive the support and justice they deserve. It is imperative that we create a safe and secure city for all of our residents. Additionally, I want to address the cancellation of last year's Veterans Day Parade and the closure of the VFW on New Bern Avenue after several decades. These events are poignant reminders to give tribute to our veterans. The Veterans Day Parade has always been a cherished tradition, a moment for us to honor the brave men and women who have served our country. Now, most of us have returned from service to our country intact, but many have not. I tell you now to lift this ridiculous war on cars that has been instituted by some of you and even our city manager, and allow vehicles to return to our cherished city celebration like you've allowed for Carib Mass this year. The veterans of Raleigh need that celebration, especially with the VFW on New Bern closing its doors. This decades-long sanctuary for many veterans has provided camaraderie, support, and a sense of belonging. It is a significant loss. We must explore ways to support our veterans organizations and ensure that they have the resources needed to continue their invaluable work. Our veterans deserve our utmost respect and gratitude, and we must ensure that their sacrifices are never forgotten. So therefore, I do ask the citizens of this that are watching this broadcast to please vote for Bledsoe for Raleigh in November and remember our veterans. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, Speaker 8, I need to alert the audience that the speaker's presentation includes images that are graphic in nature and that viewers may find disturbing.
حبيبي يما نزلت الخبر جود يما جبت لك الدوم والله يما حبيبي خذ يا جود حبيبي يا يما حبيبي يما حبيبي يا علي يما قلنا لك اطلع مريش ولادي يما ولادي تعال بقول ولادي يما يما يا حبيبي.
This is Mesa Sotori. I just want you to imagine for 1 minute, Mary Baldwin, if you can, and be a human for 1 minute, that you are a mother, as you saw in the video. Her child, who's 4 years old, said, "Mama, I'm hungry. I just want some noodles." And during the starvation that the people lives in Gaza right now, it's a very struggle to find food. She went out and she went to get food for him. She came back. She found him dead with her other son, who's handicapped. 18,000 children been killed. Can you imagine that number? 18,000 children. There's no words I could say for you. Really, I didn't prepare anything. I'm not here to come and read anything from anywhere because I'm sick and tired of coming here. And I know that resolution that you're going to be voting for is not going to change anything. We just need our role models in this community to be standing up and say the right thing. There is no right in this world to kill children or to starve them to death. It's not right. You can't just be silenced because your turn gonna come one day and you're gonna be, I wish if I did the right thing and said, stop the killing of the children. We're not asking you here to arm Palestinians. We're not asking you to send food. We're asking just to stop the killing. Be a human being. I'm here tonight to be your mirror, your ugly mirror, to tell you what you have to do. I'm going to be for Halloween, you, Mary Baldwin.
Thank you. Number 9.
Cole McMullen. In the fall of last year, the city of Raleigh began its budget listening sessions in which residents could attend and share thoughts on what should be budget priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. In addition, there was a participatory budgeting initiative in which residents could provide feedback on which of 5 projects in their district, 5 or so projects, should be prioritized. Usually I'm up here complaining about things the city does, but I want to be clear that I think last year's budget engagement process was overall a pretty positive experience and an improvement upon the year prior. But I still think it could be better. Specifically, I think the use of an online calculator tool in which residents can allocate dollars to different priorities in the general budget, such as housing and neighborhoods, public safety, parks, etc., so that they can demonstrate the balance that most accurately reflects their values. The city used a similar online calculator tool to engage residents for feedback regarding how, I think, if I remember correctly, ARPA funds should be allocated back in like 2022 or so. Further, I think it would be fantastic if this online calculator was extremely granular, such that a resident could potentially use the money allocated for vacant police officer positions and put it towards an alternative response unit or more firefighter positions, just to list a couple of examples. Doing so would not only increase transparency about where public dollars are allocated, but would also be a more detailed and accurate sample of how residents want their dollars spent. On another note, if I recall correctly, the fiscal 23-24 budget, so not the one that was just adopted, but the one the year prior, included money for 2 different programs. One was an e-bike rebate program, as well as a composting pilot program. I have kind of fallen behind on some of the city council meetings, so I'm not aware of there being a report about the results of either of these programs, but I may have missed it. And I was just wondering if there's any information available regarding the outcomes of these 2 programs, and then any follow-up regarding those 2 would be appreciated, whether it's verbally, by email, later, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Could get this. Okay. Number 10 has withdrawn. So 11, 12, 13.
Good evening, Larry Alley. As Cole just said, the FY26 budget cycle, community engagement starts next month. Council discussion and action can't wait until your January retreat. Previous community sessions only compiled spending wish lists without affordability context. Now people can see their new city property tax and service bills. As a reminder, this chart, in June you approved the general budget that increased 13% in city property taxes by 25% on a reassessed median value home. Usage fees also increased 4 to 8%. Ironically, then and now you often express concerns about low and middle income families and affordable housing. Let me pull up this next. All right, I'm not doing something right. Anyway, I was going to show you the pie chart that was presented during the budget cycle, highlighting 33% of the budget for public safety, but not its degradation from 37% a decade ago, nor the growth in debt service, and most egregiously, the 2.5 times growth in general government overhead to 20%. Let me try again. These trend charts have been provided up until the last couple of years. When they were discontinued, I questioned that. The answer that came back was that the state didn't really require it, and it streamlined the nearly 500-page document. The reality is that showing the degradation of these metrics would have conflicted with the budget narrative and approval. Let me see if I can find this chart. All right, I messed something up. The chart that I've sent you before shows that degradation over the last 5 and 10 years. It shows it in all of the categories that were previously shown on those trend charts. Budget growth compared to inflation and population growth, property tax as a percent of revenue, general fund debt service as a percent of budget, public safety and other employees per 1,000 residents, et cetera. Those trend charts should be reinstated because they tell the story that's not being told without them. The city manager and council correctly advocate for city employees, but the budget shows no fiscal balance and no consideration for taxpayers. The chart is up now that I was referring to. The Forbes chart, and if we can put that up, you saw the Forbes chart in June before you approved the budget. The Forbes chart talked about budget unaffordability in Raleigh. I don't know where it is. I'm out of time. Thanks. There's the Forbes chart. You guys need to focus on this.
Thank you. Speaker 12.
Good evening. A couple of months ago, I spoke to you about your ordinance which forced street food vendors on Glenwood Avenue to close at 1:15 a.m. I spoke angrily at that time, and I apologize. Tonight, I will merely list some pertinent numbers and briefly explain their meaning. 2, the number of times so far that I'm raising this topic. 2, the number of moves made by city government to cripple the street food vendors, first in 2021, which forced most to close at 1:15, and then late last year when you empowered the police to enter private property and forced the few remaining carts to close as well. So long, Fourth Amendment. 45 minutes, that's the 3/4 of an hour that a bar only 20 yards away from me can continue to sell rounds of alcohol shots while police get in my face and repeatedly threaten my business because I sold a bottle of water after 1:15. As ridiculous as that sounds, I am not making this up. $2,859. That's the gross sales for my cart in July of 2024. After you back out state, county, transportation fees, food costs, state health, and city permit fees, that's operating at a loss. $7,500. That's the gross sales from the same period last year, a nearly 3-fold increase in sales and therefore some income. 2, the number of my employees I don't want to let go, and that's the only reason I keep going out there every weekend. And speaking of employees, 13, the number of carts that used to be on the 6-block stretch of Glenwood South and its side streets. 3, the number that's left by the end of this July. That's 10 very small businesses shuttered. That's at least 10 people out of work. Now, for the most part, these were not their main jobs. These are people who are working 2 to 3 jobs so they can better their families' lives. These were side gig jobs, working hard and late into the night. These jobs were important to them and their families. A better stocked fridge, better school supplies, a happier Christmas. In these times of sky-high prices, I hope and pray they landed on their feet. These are the little people your vote impacted. And finally, 0. The number of city council members that would accept a sudden, cruel, and unwarranted loss of employment or a 75% cut in your pay. Now, I'm willing to believe that you weren't aware of the nature and timing of sales in my little niche business area. I'm willing to chalk this up to the realm of unintended consequences. You didn't know, you didn't realize. I sincerely hope that's the case anyway. But you know now. Please, I beg you, do something about it.
Speaker 12 and 13. Oh, I'm sorry, 13. Brian McGinnis. Okay, 14 has withdrawn. Speaker 15.
Good evening. I'm Horace Clemens. I came before you on August the 20th to discuss Pratt Industries and their noise violation. So they don't really have a long history of ignoring things that are good for the community and good for the employees. So since that meeting, I don't think there's really been much progress. Sergeant Reeves informed me that a letter had been written and would be sent to Pratt Industries. But the letter, the only thing he would tell me about it was going to suggest that they change their operating hours. That does nothing to reduce the noise. So he said he couldn't explain to me what was going on. But look, since '89 when they were complained against, if you look at the data I sent you before, they continually ignore regulations and everything. They pay their fines and keep abusing the environment, their employees, and the community. And since '89, the technology for reducing noise cancellation technology is not expensive today. So I'd just like for you to give me an update on what is going to be done, and if they're not going to be forced to live within the ordinance that you guys established, why not? So give me a little something to go on here, other than I can't tell you the content of the letter. I mean, are you going to have them live within the ordinance?
The city manager will be following up with you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. 16, 17, 18.
Good evening, people. I live behind that building that Horace was just discussing, and the noise is so difficult. You can't sleep. They open every morning at 5:05. Sometimes they close at 11, and sometimes it's 1 or 2 in the morning, and it's very difficult. I moved into the home in 2007. My family has been at that residence since 1973. And in '89, my aunt and uncle and the other neighbors came to the council and successfully got this company, Pratt Industries, to enclose that machine. They do something with cardboard. They recycle cardboard. I don't know exactly. I've been to the building, but they've not talked to me or explained. They were successful in getting the machine covered with a soundproof barrier. And it stayed like that for many years. My family was happy, never complained again. And then I moved in '07, and I was working then. I got up very early, so the 5:05 time in the morning was not a problem. But going to bed at 11 is difficult. You cannot take naps. Retirement has not been as pleasant as it should have been. And I just don't understand why it can't be enforced. You guys did make the rule for the noise ordinance some time back, a few months back. So I don't understand why it can't be enforced. The decibels are too high, and this evidence is shown by numerous times. And I just don't understand why it can't be enforced. Mrs. Black, I'm guessing that you come down Departure Drive sometime since you're our commissioner. Pull into the Pratt, I invite you to pull into the Pratt Industries business sometime. Roll down your windows and listen, or any of you for that matter. So I just don't understand why it can't be enforced. So if there are any questions, if I have time, or just discuss it amongst yourselves and get back with either Horace or myself.
As I said, the city manager will be following up tomorrow.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mike Horn. I am trustee chair of Highland United Methodist Church at 1901 Ridge Road here in Raleigh. We are requesting that the city modify section 7-2005 of the Raleigh Municipal Code to allow for yard waste pickup at community gardens. Thank you.
Can you follow up with us on that? Okay, thank you. City manager's office will follow up. Thank you. 18 and 19 and 20.
Eugene isn't here.
You've reached the Raleigh 911 Center. Please do not hang up. All agents are currently on calls.
That's what happened to me. Guys, I'm here tonight to express a grave concern that impacts every single one of us in this chamber, the irresponsible growth of our city. Just a few days ago, my 81-year-old father took a terrible fall and hit his head on the concrete. So in a moment of panic, I called 911 only to hear the words that no one should ever hear in an emergency. Please hold. That moment felt like a lifetime. And this isn't just my story, it's a symptom of a much larger issue. Council is so focused on adding density, building higher, and expanding at the speed of light that we're forgetting about the essentials, the human cost of growth. We talk about more buildings, but what about more emergency responders, more 911 operators, more police officers, more firefighters, more paramedics? What about ensuring that our very public safety personnel can actually afford to live here? Which of course is a whole nother discussion, but what about the quality of life for those of us who are already here? We cannot allow the city to grow in ways that neglect our safety, our environment, and our basic ability to respond to emergencies. I'm literally talking about the unrestricted availability to answer the phone in a case of an emergency. Right now, it just feels like we're putting profit over people, and that is a recipe for disaster. Raleigh is literally becoming a city where you cannot get through to 911 in time. On that horrible day when I thought I was going to lose my father, it took 20 minutes for me to get 911 on the phone. That's diabolical. You're planning for 30 and 40-story luxury towers, but seemingly aren't planning for the necessary infrastructure and staffing. What's going to happen when traffic is going to become so congested that ambulances won't be able to reach people in critical need? This is going to become a city where overdevelopment will and has led to flooding, environmental degradation, and the worsening quality of life. We need smart counselors who champion smart growth, growth that respects the environment, maintains our community character without displacing legacy residents, growth that doesn't cause or worsen homelessness, that doesn't obliterate our history, and ensure that emergency services keep pace with our expanding population. We've got to ask ourselves, is this growth really benefiting our community, or is it putting us at greater risk? Please don't sacrifice our safety and quality of life for short-term gains. Come on, guys, let's make sure that as our city grows, that our emergency services grow too, because the next person who hears "please hold" in an emergency may not have a second chance.
Okay, Speaker 20.
Good evening. My name's Alex Brissett. I live on Brookside Drive. I want to talk about the proposal to put parking on Brookside Drive. I appreciate that the goal is to improve safety and reduce reckless driving, but I'm confident that the plan as proposed will not do that. All of the houses on the street right now have private parking, at least one parking space, so there will almost never be enough cars in the street to reduce the sight lines in a way that will cause traffic to slow down. There will, of course, be intermittently parked cars, and so, in fact, this will increase hazards as cyclists now have to weave in and out of traffic to avoid those parked cars, and also the parked cars will reduce visibility for people who are pulling in and out of their driveways. Now, of course, there are condos coming up soon, and those condos only have one parking space each. And so I expect that if parking goes in, those residents will be counting on that parking for the very expensive condos they've just bought. And so if the goal is to put in parking and bring in bike lanes later, which is, I think, the preferred thing to put on Brookside Drive, the resistance to those bike lanes and removing the parking will be extremely fierce I've been involved with Oaks and Spokes. I've dealt with this resistance before. So I want to ask to, save the headache down the road and put in bike lanes now that will improve safety, reduce hazards. This speaks to a bigger picture issue, I think. We've seen that this bike lane proposal moved through very quickly, and we're aware of other, parking proposal moved through quickly. We're aware of other parking proposals. It seems that parking proposals are not subject to the same kind of planning, approval, and public comment scrutiny that pedestrian and bike lane proposals are subject to. And it seems to speak to the priorities of the city. We talk about putting in multimodal infrastructure, but when it becomes possible to just very quickly put in parking, it sends a clear message that cars are the priority, not the thing that we state we want. So please reconsider this proposal on Brookside Drive. Thank you.
Councilmember Branch, this is in your committee.
Yes, we'll actually have a conversation on this very topic September 26th, 3 p.m. here in the chamber.
Okay, thank you. Speaker 21.
Hey, council members. My name is Cindy Lowe. I've had the pleasure of meeting with some of y'all individually the last couple weeks. I do hope I get the chance to get to know some of you that I haven't met a little bit better in the future at some point. But I'm here tonight to reiterate the need for an amendment to the Dangerous Wild Animal Ordinance to remove performance exhibitions like circuses from the list of exempted entities. Part 12, Chapter 3, Article F in the city's Code of Ordinances prohibits the possession and transportation of dangerous wild animals within the city, with exemptions for accredited zoos, research labs, educational institutions, wildlife rehabilitators, and, quote, others with proper state and federal permit, end quote, the latter of which encompasses circuses. Now, there's no statewide legislation regulating the possession of exotic animals in North Carolina, so there's no permit that a circus needs to obtain to perform with them. And unfortunately, the federal regulations are not reliable at ensuring safety to the public or humane treatment of the animals, given the plethora of USDA citations and Animal Welfare Act violations held by nearly all circuses or their animal vendors that are still performing in this country. Amending the ordinance in the proposed manner as Charlotte, Asheville, and Orange County have already done ensures that the citizens of Raleigh are kept safe from the potential threat of a loose circus animal or the possibility of pathogen transmission that is significantly increased when bringing people into dangerously close proximity to wild animals under extreme stress, as circuses do. And both of these public safety threats have a much higher likelihood of occurring at a circus relative to an accredited zoo or educational institution for many factors, some of which being the temporary nature of circus housing and transportation for their animals, the added stress of a hyper-stimulating environment making those animals react or behave more volatilely. And also simply the fact that most of these exempted entities are not regularly or if ever handling animals as large and as dangerous as circuses are. As recently of April as this year, a traveling circus passing through Butte, Montana had an escaped circus elephant running through the street. There's videos of that all over Google. The vendor that supplied the animals to the circus that came through Raleigh of this year has a proven record of multiple tuberculosis outbreaks, as well as multiple USDA citations for improper and dangerous handling and exposure to the public of their animals. So these are very real threats, but can very easily and with minimal backlash be prevented with amending the ordinance. And I will share a one-pager that I am compiling via email at some point to y'all. Thank you.
Okay, Speaker 22.
Good evening, Mayor Baldwin and members of Raleigh City Council. My name is Chris Powers. I live in District D and own and operate 5 businesses in that district, the largest being Trophy Brewing Company. As a combined business, we employ over 100 people in various full and part-time roles. All of our locations are in downtown Raleigh, all close or easily accessible to Red Hat Amphitheater. Like many businesses in downtown Raleigh, the last few years we have struggled to survive. We have made it through a worldwide pandemic in a changing downtown. We faced challenges that have pushed us to look at the way our businesses operate and made difficult decisions regarding our futures because of that. My partners and I are invested as stakeholders in downtown, both financially and emotionally. So what happens in our downtown greatly affects us. With the current prospect of a season without Red Hat Amp has us very worried. When there is no show at Red Hat, we put more people on our schedules, we buy more food and beer to sell, and we prepare for an increase in sales and happy customers we take care of on their way to a show. The energy downtown is palpable and infectious. We have enjoyed the benefits of a fully booked concert season and an active Red Hat amphitheater well past the summer with community events and the rink that has brought people downtown on cold nights. Red Hat acts as a beacon for downtown that attracts people from all over the Triangle and beyond to our sometimes quiet downtown. Having an active and vibrant downtown allows our businesses to thrive, increases safety for visitors, to employ more people, to pay better wages, and to add to the energy that makes Raleigh special. On the nights that Red Hat has been dark this year, the energy is different. There's less pedestrian traffic, fewer cars, and restaurants and bars are quieter. We schedule less staff, our sales suffer, and often we close earlier. You can feel the difference a show can make. It's hard to imagine a downtown without a concert season at Red Hat Amphitheater. But this is a reality we are facing. With so many businesses feeling pretty fragile right now, a delay or cancellation of a season can prove devastating for so many of us. If we pause here, it's likely another city or location will have a chance to steal this energy from Raleigh and capitalize on our mistake. They will certainly attract the high-profile touring acts that demand larger venue sizes that are currently being booked at Red Hat. And we will be left behind like we were when DPAC was built. So today, I'm asking you, the members of City Council, to consider the fragile small businesses of downtown, the people that help bring a spotlight to this wonderful city, the people who give the city character, and do not delay this project.
Thank you. Speaker 23. Is Chris here? I don't see him. Okay. Speaker 24.
Hi, how are y'all doing? I'm Justin Helms. I live off of Ridgecroft Lane, and for the last 4 years, I've done Christmas arches down our cul-de-sac. There's about 16 houses. We do it. It actually started off with a double dog dare, said I couldn't do it. And I built one. Then I put one on each end, and then it grew from there. And as of now, I know it's in the zoning part, but I can get 15 days every year just by starting over and doing it, and they'll send me a letter, sends one out there, they'll give me 5 days, I'll take it down. What I'm asking is, if I can get the other 15, I'd love to have the month of December. I'd love to be able to put the arches up. And there's wonderful stories. The whole neighborhood is involved, so 16 houses, that's just not me providing the power. I've got petitions there from everybody in the neighborhood. Where I put the arches, they supply the power, so they know it's in their yard. I didn't prepare anything to write, so I'm sorry. I'm just asking for December, that extra 15 days. I'll abide by it. I'll take it down ASAP. I'm a man of my word. I'll give you a few little things. Give you an idea. We had a little girl at the end of the cul-de-sac. She sold hot chocolate and cookies for $1 a piece. She made $240 and didn't give me any of it. So it gives you an idea of how many people come and they enjoy it. And then one year, I thought I was in trouble. This lady was coming and she was videoed with her camera. And I'm like, oh, Lord, what have I done? And then she told me, she goes, her mom came down for the first 2 years and walked it and loved it. And her mom got real sick. She says, all I want you to do is walk down and videotape that. I want to see it. And so things like that happen. It makes me proud. And there's also a principal of a Raleigh school who everybody says, hey, there's a house down there, or the cul-de-sac that does the arches. You ought to go see it, and he lives in there. He just doesn't want anybody to know where he lives. So, yeah, I would appreciate that. I've left here photos, drawings. It's 16 foot high. It meets the regulations for any fire trucks, you know, any FedEx trucks, anything EMS can get by. It's above the height that they need. Any questions, I appreciate it if you would consider it, and thank you so much.
Thank you. The city manager's office will follow up on this. Thank you. Speaker 25.
Hi. I'm Helen Tart, 611 Monroe Drive. I'm here to report a problem and suggest a solution. The problem, small one in the great scheme of things, is the massive amount of litter on Salisbury Street, right past South Street, that one block across from the Performing Arts Center, which is a place where a lot of people go and see. But my solution is basically something similar to the Adopt a Highway that the state government has. And Salisbury Street isn't on that program because I called. And actually, they say they get a lot of requests from people wanting to adopt a street in Raleigh, especially along there in the MLK Boulevard. So my suggestion was that perhaps you could partner with the Great Raleigh Cleanup for to organize and put up the signs, and of course I'm willing to help because I'd love to adopt that particular block and have a sign up that says in memory of Donald H. Pickett, who was my late husband that worked there for decades. But I was thinking maybe we could send the idea to the Transportation Committee, Corey, or just maybe have somebody talk to the Transportation Department about the possibility of doing something like that, because I think it might turn out to be a win-win because, you know, the city ends up having to clean up litter themselves, and so and I think it would give people a lot of pride in their neighborhood. So I hope you'll consider doing something like that. Thank you.
City manager's office, Helen will be following up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Speaker 26.
Hello, everybody. This is not something I even knew existed, so I want to thank you for the platform. I want to thank you to the organizers of the Save Red Hat Amphitheater movement for guiding me and showing me how to show up here in the right place at the right time. And I want to thank you for giving us a voice in this city that I've loved my entire life. I'm one of the few people that was born and raised here. My parents were raised here. This city, I've got deep roots in this city. And growing up here, you know, I come from a family of musicians, and live music has been a part of my everyday existence. Not every day, but most days. And, you know, we had Walnut Creek, and thank God for that. And we had Lincoln Theater, which will always hold a near and dear place, and please don't ever take it away. But there was a pretty big gap, you know, no question about it. We had a big gap between Lincoln Theater and Walnut Creek Amphitheater, and what we did was we traveled, and we took our business elsewhere. We gave them our concert money. We gave them our beer money. We gave them our food money, our hotel costs. For me, it was a tent, but whatever. People were spending money, my friends, in other cities. So, of course, great sense of pride when we brought Red Hat Amphitheater. So great job. If any of you had anything to do with that, I want to thank you for that. It's made my last 10 years much better. But what I wanted to point out today, you know, what Chris Powell pointed out to me was, you know, when I've been thinking of what it is I want to say, like, of course, there's a huge economic impact, right? Of course, all that money that we were spending in other cities growing up, we're spending here. I didn't really think about that year, right? I thought, well, that's maybe slightly unchanged. But there's a few things I just want to point out to you beyond what Chris Powell pointed out to us all, is that 1 year of closure, the tremendous economic impact. I know this city inside and out, and where you're talking about putting it is just not as good. That's all there is to it. The walkability factor is unbelievable. I mean, you guys really nailed it. I've been to concert venues all over this country, most of them mediocre. Every once in a while, you land on that one that's just got it. You know, it's just got it. And you want to go back. And the band might even be mediocre, but you find yourself saying, hey, I want to go to that amphitheater. That spot was cool. I love that place, right? And it's not just the concert goers, it's the artists, it's the musicians. We have people all over this country talking about Raleigh, North Carolina because of Red Hat Amphitheater. And it's not because of the 2 blocks down the road Red Hat Amphitheater. It's because we got it right the first time. And I just want to challenge you guys sitting here. I'm so inspired by all the people coming forward. I mean, you guys have your work cut out for you. There's a lot going on in this city. And when you get it right, why don't we leave it alone? Right? We've got so many things wrong. We've got so much to do. Every once in a while, you get it just right. And in this one case, let's leave it, y'all. It's right. People are talking about this venue literally all over the country. I'm traveling to these other concerts where artists aren't coming, and I just
thank
want
you.
Yeah.
Speaker 27. Is Nicole here? I don't see her either. Okay. Speaker 28.
Somehow lost my notes, but I have it on the Google Drive. Speaker number 28, 1324, Spring Lawn Court. Mayor and councilors, there's been a lot of talk recently about relocating Red Hat Amphitheater and expanding the convention center. My question is why? The first priority of the city should be to find housing and provide services for those in need in the city. At the same time, the city should be focused on paying its workers a wage that enables them not just to live in the city, but to thrive in the city. All this talk about moving Red Hat and expanding the convention center is like someone living in a shack and paying for a Ferrari. Priorities are out of whack. Not that I'll tell anybody the way they want to live. But as a city, yeah. Also, before moving the theater, please make sure you have the support of the residents affected, including those that live in Heritage Park. We also need to talk about the alternative response unit. It should be fully funded. As we have several vacancies in the police department, we should move the money for the vacant positions directly into the alternative response unit. If Durham and Denver can do it, why can't we? We are the capital city, for crying out loud. We should be a model for the state. And lastly, it is past time to pass a ceasefire resolution. Over 90,000 people have been killed directly by the U.S.-funded IDF. For every one person that is killed due to being shot or bombed, 3 to 5 are being killed by the conditions on the ground and disease. Tens of thousands of people are dead, mothers, fathers, and children, all funded by the U.S. taxpayers. There are some that say that international politics are not appropriate for a city government, but I say to you, the city council, you are the most accessible form of government our citizens can reach. You are the one that has the public forums. You are the ones that enable the people to have access to you on a scale much different than the state government, especially the fascists that are running this state, and the national government. You can take a stand for what is right. While you cannot directly affect what the U.S. government does, you can send a message that a majority of people in the city do not want blood on their hands. Free Palestine. I'm not sure how you sleep at night knowing of the atrocities committed in your name by the capitalist parties that you are members of. Sorry, I was reading from Google Drive, so I had a harder time seeing it. Has anybody been and checked on the encampments since the last time I was here? We've had a couple? That's good, because everybody that lives in the city, whether they live in a mansion or whether they live in the woods, are important. Thank you.
Okay, Speaker 29.
My name is Athena Wallen. I am a Brookside Drive resident, and I've been having continued conversations about the pavement portion of my neighborhood, and I expect to have more. But today I am kind of scared because I'm talking about something that I wanted to talk to you about last year and finally got to it. We have a problem with inadequate stormwater infrastructure. We know this. We know neighborhoods that are impacted by it every single year, and we know that it's a struggle to try to update these in a realistic, comprehensible way. So on Brookside Drive, coincidentally, there is an example that we need to stop and assess and fix. There's two parcels of land, and I wish I had the sense to be able to email you sooner, but there are two parcels of land that are going to become condos, and the creek runs back here. Please hold construction and do so intentionally as an effort to acknowledge some of the consequences of the UDO approvals. I want you to realize that the stormwater creeks are very fragile systems, and for us to go through the UDO approval process without adding additional insight and not, I guess, regulations for keeping the integrity of the stream intact. We don't have a way for that to be integrated with these UDO developments, except for the fact that you just approved some changes that may or may not affect this, but it doesn't go in for 60 days, and I've been watching this deteriorate for the past year. This particular set of parcels, back in the day, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there is a channel of water of sorts. And in our efforts to move the sewer out of the creek in 2011, or sorry, not 2011, but we moved the sewer out of the creek in the 70s. We put a buffer and then an easement to that sewer. And then in 2011, we maintained that sewer, and somehow that channel of water between those two buildings is gone. And that doesn't really make sense because it is a storm water channel. Why is it gone? And as we jump back into, modern times, it's a patch of grass that is now part of somebody's yard. And, oh no.
Okay, thank you.
This is what's happening in between them.
Excuse me, time is up, thank you. Is this something that will be talked about too, or is this related at all? This is something different?
This is about stormwater, so this needs to be handled probably through growth and natural resources.
Well, let's just have
But
city
staff should look into
manager
it.
look at it. Okay. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. The meeting is now adjourned.